way will bring to Black residents in reclaiming ownership of our own communities. That is the spirit of Juneteenth, you all. It is about reflecting on our past. Other cultures are taught to never forget. We need to be reminded as Blacks here in Chicago and America, remembering our past and working towards a more just future. Investing in Black is not a criminal act. Sister Zakiya says she need a witness, so I'm gonna say it again. Investing in Black is not a criminal act.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for Black people. They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a Black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, and yes, we are here, Poppin' Politics. The team is here. KJ is still out. But tonight we are going to talk about some fiery subjects. Actually, we're talking about a tale pretty much of 3 cities across our states. These cities are causing lawlessness, chaos, disorder, all kinds of turmoil, and we are going to talk about it. But first, let's see who's on the panel. We have Nicole Coley is back with us, and yes, Yana is. Hi, everybody. Sorry, and yes, Yana is back with us on Wednesday. So thank you, Yana. The audience loved you being back, Yana, and we are so glad to have you again.
Glad to be back. It's a great summer.
Right. Yeah, it's a hot summer and it's getting hotter than July, like Stevie Wonder says. But we got to break it down tonight because while you and the rest of our YouTube land, you may not live in these 3 cities that we're going to highlight and delve into tonight, but it still is going to affect you, whether it's going to affect us financially, social, some cultural things. These 3 cities are on the brink. I'm using that language. They're on the brink of literally spreading like wildfires of California, spreading this chaos through our country. And we are here to talk about it tonight. Are you ready, ladies?
Let's go.
You're ready.
All right. So before we get started again, we're going to ask our audience, number 1, you know it, hit that like, share, and subscribe buttons. Share all over the world because we got to get this clip out. We got to tell people what's going on. So hit that like, hit that share button, and subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so the next time we talk on the air, we come on the air, you will already be notified and you will have your front row seat. Okay. And don't forget, we have merchandise. We're going to show our link. We have merchandise, mugs, shirts, hoodies, all the kind of good stuff you're going to be able to purchase. And we have some new stuff coming out. So make sure you do that. And of course, our chatters, all our super chatters. Look, we love you guys, your support. You are on it always. Keep it up. We cannot thank you enough. We love your support. All right, ladies, let's delve right in. ICE is under attack everywhere, and we're going to start with New York. What is going on in New York? I call it everything but the right thing. Apparently, Frank Sinatra is probably rolling in his grave, right? Now, look, I love New Yorkers with my fake New York accent. I love you guys, but what's going on in there? Let's talk about it. Let's go to clip 1.
Guys, back up, guys, back up. I understand you're pregnant, but I need you to back up. If you're interfering with this arrest, we have to arrest. Back up, guys. Keep going. Back up, guys.
This is not legal to take someone without a judicial warrant. Please don't put him in the elevator and then claim you have the warrant. You don't have a warrant for him.
I will let go when you show me the judicial warrant. Where is it? Where is the warrant?
So show it. Let us see it. So let us see it before you take his warrant.
Excuse me, please stay back, stay back. No, take it back, take it back. Step back. Please, step back. Step back, guys, step back. Step back.
You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. Please stay back. You don't have it. I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I have to see the judicial warrant.
Please step back,
For a judicial warrant?
Step back, guys. You can take pictures, but please stay back.
To arrest U.S. citizens, asking for a judicial warrant.
Stay back, please. Stay back, please.
Press, we go too. Sorry. No way. I'm safe. Where are you taking him? Hello?
Since you have no authority to arrest U.S. citizens.
Where are you taking the controller?
And with what authority?
Why are you arresting the city controller and where are you taking him? No!
Number one is going to go with him, all right? Hang on, please, number one. Hold on. Brett, that's his number one right here, all right? Thank you.
So remember, I said we're talking about 3 cities, Chicago, New York, and we're going to get to Baltimore later. But ladies, let's start with number 1, Chicago. We started with Brandon Johnson in Chicago. He's talking about Juneteenth and this, what I'm calling this grift special he has going on. What is the importance of Juneteenth? Why is that important? Is it important to you? Let's start with you, Yana. Should it be important?
Well, what I see from what the mayor of the mayor of Chicago, the way that he was basically throwing out a bunch of slogans that really I didn't understand what is the point of those slogans. Something like invest in black. He made a rhyme and he was so happy about that. That it's not a crime. When was it ever was it ever a crime? What are you talking about? Then
right.
This whole thing, we gotta bring more justice, and so it all screams Marxism to me, because it's just a bunch of slogans in order to wake up some kind of historical pain, and just let's keep it alive. Let's keep this pain of slavery. Let's keep it alive. That's really what he is doing with that with that speech. I don't see any practical reason for what he was saying, and there's no paths. There's no path to greatness or anything like that. He's not telling black people how they can lift themselves up in America. So the thing is with Marxists is that they don't want people to believe that it's possible to be successful in capitalism. Mm-hmm. So they have to keep this idea that there's always oppressors and there are the oppressed, and there's some kind of redistribution of wealth has to happen in order for the so-called oppressed to be lifted up, because they don't want people who are struggling to even believe that they can succeed in capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Nicole, I mean, is Juneteenth important to you? Should it be a federal holiday? I mean, you're black, I'm black. What does it mean? Should it supersede or even be equal with July 4th?
Well, no. Celebrating the independence of our nation is one thing. As a kid, we've always had Juneteenth. I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania and sometime in Dallas, Texas, but it was not a federal holiday. There were carnivals. We talked about being self-sufficient. People had community gardens. It has become what I like to say Disney-fied at this point. They've got Juneteenth t-shirts, hairdos, glasses, ice cream, DJs. I mean, they have really just taken something that was very special to a select few of people who celebrated it in community uplifting ways, and they've turned it into a grift. starting with Walmart. Walmart started almost immediately selling Juneteenth things, because one thing we know about Black people are we're consumers of things, right? So Yana's right. She hit the nail on the head. Mayor Johnson threw out a bunch of slogans and whatnot, but let's remember who he is and where he's at with this. This time last year, they were roasting his butt over an open flame about his support for illegal aliens instead of taking care of the Black community. So now that Trump has taken that off of his plate, he's making a play for the Black vote that he needs in order to stay in power. Will it be enough? Will the Juneteenth grift be enough? Will throwing a few pennies at the same community he's ignored for 2.5 years be enough? We'll see. It's going to be interesting politically.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting politically. And unfortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately. Personally, I don't think Juneteenth should be equalized anywhere near July 4th, number one. I agree with you, Nicole and Yana. Number two, Juneteenth in and of itself is a beautiful, fun holiday, particularly on a local level. But politicians like Brandon Johnson and other types have really just used this holiday and they've made it into a grift. They've made it into this racial victimhood story that is not even celebratory anymore. I contend that many Black people don't even know why they're celebrating. They just know that, okay, somebody said let's have a party or a cookout on Juneteenth, Juneteenth. And so now we get to party. But you know what? You know what's even worse or equally worse? Now the View is talking about Black people again. Look, Black people seem not to have a lot of positive things that can be said about them. We collectively as Black people, we seem to be ripe for being grifted for some reason. But let's hear what these women on the View have to say regarding Iranians and Black people now.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging Black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
I'm sorry.
No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're Black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're Black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table should go to Tehran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. And we all know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot have property. They cannot leave things.
I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent. But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I need a sedative after seeing that. Okay. Look. First of all, Whoopi, everybody on that panel, no less, every one of those women have made millions of dollars in America, okay? Whoopi Goldberg was once a beloved actress, comedian, for whatever reason, but she was in her own right. She has literally made millions and a lifestyle in America that she cannot have anywhere else in the world, no less Iran. The women in Iran Iran since the revolution are basically not even second-class citizens. They might not even have quote unquote citizenship, if you will. They can no longer be educated. And Iran has once had a very educated, relatively wealthy middle class for that country. Now the women are treated like property. Okay, they do have to be veiled. They can't show, arms or legs. They are basically not free. Okay, sometimes the children in Iran and many Middle Eastern countries have more rights than the mother, than the grown women, adult women. And where does Whoopi get off talking about it's not the same? Black people put on cards. Sarah made a good point. Oh, I'm sorry, Alyssa made a good point. Gays and other so-called minorities in Iran and Middle Eastern countries, particularly these Shia or Arab countries, they are literally thrown off of roofs. They are burned alive. They are stoned for what we might call immorality, if you will. But there they are stoned for literally breaking the law, whatever their law is. So we don't do that in America. These ungrateful hens, particularly Whoopi Goldberg. Sarah was correcting her. Did you see her kind of stop in her tracks a little bit? Because she didn't know where to go, because she is making this up. They used Juneteenth, and now they're using the Israel-Iranian war to continue to grift and call on Black people as oppressors. Are you kidding me, Yana? Am I making any sense, or are they making any sense?
I mean, it's painful. It's painful to watch Whoopi. Like, she is scary, first of all. She looks, what is going on her head? And she is just, I don't know if she, like, I can't believe that someone literally can believe what she is saying. Like, it's so disingenuous. It's almost like, I know we have freedom of speech in this country, but this should not be legal, what she's saying. It's nonsense. It's total nonsense. And that she is comparing a country like Iran, where they literally live by 7th century law. The law of the country is based on what was written in 7th century. So meritable age for girls is 9 years old. You can get stoned. You can get lashed. You can get your arms and your feet cut off for various crimes. So she is comparing, what? Like that is absolute. And then she would say, "It's America is the greatest country in the." Okay, well, do you really believe that? If you can say something like that you can say that people in America, Black people in America, are treated the same way as certain minority or women or gays in Iran. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And the fact that people are clapping and that she has a job, like, really, she needs to go.
Yeah. Nicole, why do the Brandon Johnson types and the Whoopi types, these are people who are what we call, the elite, they hold prominent positions. Why do they continue to need, if you will, Black people to fall into this grift mode, if you will, or victim mode? What is it that they get from it?
Power. Let's just call it what it is. Power over a group of people who hinge on your word. It makes her feel more valuable than everyone else at that table. And that's what you saw. When everyone else was having an opinion, you saw her hold on to her head and put her head down like she could not be bothered to hear the statements of other people, and then had the nerve to say, no, that's not what you want to say. Well, I get to pick my own words. You can interpret it the way you want to, but I get to pick my words. She sees herself as much more valuable than everyone else at that table, like Mayor Johnson does. He doesn't see himself as a resident of the city of Chicago, not by any stretch of the imagination. If he had, he would not have to be kissing Black people's butts up and down the street for the last 2 years of dragging them like they didn't exist in their own city. People like these, once they attain a certain level of status, they start to kind of look down on everybody around them. Whoopi is the moderator, for lack of a better term, on The View. That's probably why it's circling the toilet bowl like it does. But she has this thing that she does where she makes everyone else around her feel small so she can feel big. And she does that all the time. And don't pay attention to the audience clapping. There's a guy standing there with a stick. And every time he throws the stick, they're supposed to clap. What a great idea. That's how TV works. It's kind of not like YouTube where the chat keeps you honest. Speaking of chat, shout out to C2 who dropped by. It's good to see you, bruh. It's really good to see you. But I think overall, these two type of people are a subset of Black culture that we need to rid ourselves of. They see any little hiccup in our community and they exploit it. They exploit it for money. They exploit it for fame. They exploit it for power. And it is detrimental to everyone else in the community.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you both. And not only do they exploit it for fame and power, they exploit these incidents, if you will, or these moments. They exploit them to the detriment of the community. Still in New York, you have the mayoral candidate, Brad Lander. Again, we showed that clip. Attacking ICE, attacking legitimate law enforcement officials. They are, again, causing and contributing to the disorder, the chaos. Let's see clip number 3.
The people united will never be defeated. 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 The people never be defeated. Make way, folks. Make way. Guys, please. Make way. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
This is awful. You have officials, elected officials, people running for office. Again, they are attacking ICE. They are causing chaos. And then they're kind of applauded and celebrated for it. Again, manipulating the people, in my opinion. And not only that, so they want this power, but they also want preferential treatment. They want to be separated, singled out as the elite with special protections. But remember, these are the same types of people who told us no one is above the law. When it was referring to Donald Trump, right? When it was referring to President Trump, no one is above the law. Democracy dies in darkness, and everyone must be accountable except themselves. They do not believe in it. They just want the power, like Nicole said. I remember when I started the show, I said that even if you don't live in these 3 cities, New York, Chicago, and we're moving to Baltimore a little bit later, even if you don't live here, you, the American taxpayer, are going to be footing the bill. Let's see clip number 2.
That are walking out of this courthouse, taken away from their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in this situation.
That's ridiculous.
There you go. Nicole, go ahead. I mean, what do you say? Go ahead, Nicole.
Ridiculous. First of all, taxes in New York are high as hell. Let's just do that. You're better off jumping the border and going to Canada to see how long they'll let you be illegal there, right? The thought of her giving $50 million of taxpayer money, especially in a city that is rife with crime, children aren't being educated, the streets are filthy, tourism is down, is mind-boggling to me. How do you lead in such a way where only one group gets your undivided attention? How does that work? Under what philosophy? political, spiritual. It doesn't really make sense, with the exception of, like Yana was saying, taking from the people who worked hard to get this money and distributing it across people who've done nothing, who aren't even supposed to be here. Let's do that. People who've torn up most of your city. You see the police in New York City and Times Square fighting with these children and losing. And you $50 million to make sure they can stay? Are you serious? They should recall her. They really should.
Yeah. Yana, before I bring you here, I want to just give you all a few stats, if you will, regarding illegal immigration, on immigration in general. Again, according to the City Journal, this was in 2020, an article in the City Journal, they said that particularly in Massachusetts and Boston and Cambridge, these sanctuary cities, it cost taxpayers there upwards of $140 million to deal with immigration services. That's just in 2 cities in Massachusetts, right? The National Review, in an article in 2023, they reported that the border crisis and all of the record numbers of illegals that were coming in under the Biden administration, guess how much it cost the American taxpayer? Way more than 140 million. We're up to the 450 billions of dollars, okay, or more. So again, all of us are paying for these illegal immigrants and all of the quote unquote services that are afforded to them. We're paying for it, upwards of $450 billion. And this is from an ABC News article in 2024, back to New York specifically. They spent more than $5 billion, billion with a B, okay, on illegal immigration services and undocumented immigrants. This is our money. Granted, New York, Massachusetts, they're states and they bring in their own money. But guess what? We all pay taxes because immigration is not just a state or local issue. It's a federal and national. So every taxpayer has money taken out of his or her checks, taxpayers, to pay for illegal services. Yana, what should happen to elected officials who interfere with lawful orders of detainment or arrest? What should happen?
They should be arrested. I mean, and they should be kept in jail, not just released immediately, like this person, the candidate, the mayoral candidate of New York. And I mean, the only reason I can see why they're so pro this, these illegal immigrants is because that's their next voting bloc. These are their future voters. And that's really the only reason I can see why they would be promoting and supporting them and paying for them so much. They're grooming them to be lifelong Democrats, because these illegal aliens, yes, some of them are illegal, but then they have relatives, they have children, they have, people around them who are their family, their associates. If they will see that the Democrats are helping them, providing free legal assistance, of course they will end up voting for Democrats. So this is just grooming, their next voters. It's so simple. And it's also very communist in a way, or Marxist, because they're replacing us with them. That's what is happening.
Yeah. And not only are these elected officials going after ICE, now we can't go on without mentioning this, unfortunately. Now we have Letitia James, the New York Attorney General. Of course, she's always going after the wrong people for the wrong reason. Now she's going after these police officers and officials in New York who are cooperating or working with ICE officials or the Trump administration. This is clip 6, yes. So she's probing, as the article says in the New York Post, local cops for misconduct for working with Trump administration. When did it become illegal or wrong for local officials to collaborate, work with, whatever word you want to use, with lawful orders from ICE? Where do you see this happening? Where else is this happening? Or why is she doing this, Nicole? I mean, what can you say about this woman? She's all over the place.
Well, she's really hoping that she's not going to be probed soon. Let's do that. I mean, jail is coming at her hot and fast. Please believe me. And this is her way of trying to get one more blow. You know, Letitia James, in her mind, has a bright political future. Personally, I think she's going to spend some time in the clink. I mean, I think she's going to go to jail for some of the things that she's done. That, along with her absolute, probably one of the most severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome I have ever seen, is what's going to earn her what we call the stink vote. Only angry people will vote for her, but most right-thinking people are going to say you come with too much baggage. So she has to do something. So she's going to continue to terrorize the police in New York City and say, yes, I know you think you're doing the right thing, but I, as the attorney general, as the top cop, I say you're doing it wrong. And as long as she has that seat, apparently it's within New York state law that she can.
Yeah. Ayanna, do you really think, or these people, do you think they really don't know what they're doing? Do you think that they're doing this for the best of intentions, that they really believe that they are doing something good and worthwhile? I mean, seriously, because at this point, I don't. I think they are perpetrating a huge fraud. But what do you think?
I agree with you. I can't. I mean, these people who are in charge, they're not necessarily dumb. I mean, I don't think that that's stupid, but and also at the same time, I think they really just want to stay in power, and they will do whatever they can to stay in power at this point. And maybe it's a sign of them sensing that they might lose. They see that people are waking up, you know, certain factions of people outside maybe of their communities are waking up, and people on the internet are doing. So it's their way to keep, like I was saying, you know, this myth alive that there are the oppressors and the oppressed, and they have to keep that alive. So in this case with immigrants, it's another Marxist ploy, you know, to say immigrants, that's another group that is oppressed. So they will just latch on to any group. Like it could be the homosexuals, you know, or now it's illegals. Then it might be I don't know who else it's gonna be. Or I mean, obviously, they will always turn to Black people. They're always using them as, you know, in the front line of the oppressed. And they're just using groups of people who, yes, they have struggled in the past, or in some cases they do struggle, but they're not helping these groups of people, in fact. And I always said about immigrants, because I'm an immigrant, and most of my friends, especially my first few years in America, were immigrants, and also taught English to immigrants. And what I noticed was interesting is that the people who kind of stay on the immigrants who stay on the same level, like they don't go up in their career,
social mobility,
right? They're the Hispanics, and the reason for that is because they don't learn English. They can be staying here for 20 years and not learn English. And I was thinking, why is that like that? Well, there's so many services, everything you can do in America in Spanish. You need to call your bank, you can talk in Spanish. You need to fill out a form, there's a Spanish form. You need to take a driving test, there's a driving test in Spanish. And it was presented to people as, well, we're helping the immigrants in that way. But what is it doing? It's actually keeping them at a lower socioeconomic status.
Depressed, yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting that all these so-called, you know, help and services that even the people who are here legally that Democrats are providing, it's really to keep them at that level, at the same level, and to keep them in their voting block.
In that same, right. You're right, Yana. Thanks for that. That's a good piece of information to know. But guess what? We don't want to stay in the same level. We want you, our audience, to get this word out for us. And you can help us by, again, liking, sharing, and subscribing to our page on YouTube, Poppin' Politics. You can go to our website and purchase our merchandise. Like this cup, black, not white. We are Americans. And we need to, Nicole has her other signature Poppin' Politics mug there. But if you go there, this will help us get the word out so that we can challenge and stand up to this leftist, Marxist propaganda that is aiding and abetting chaos and disorder and lawlessness, and poverty, for that matter, to your point, Yana, all across our country. We are sick of it, but with your help, we can get this word out more and more and more. So we thank you already. I just want to shout out some of our moderators in the chat. We have Allie. I see Wendy there. Thank you, JT, one of our freedom seekers there. I think I saw Coaster earlier. The S-Files is there. We thank you all so much for your support. Trey's Chocolate City, Jessica Price is there. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Keep up the chat. Keep up the likes. We love your comments and we love your support. Now, moving on to another city, a city that we know well, right here in Baltimore. Before I go, we have a super chatter here, a super sticker. Anton, I think it's Ian. Thank you, Anton, for your $20 super sticker. Hi, Anna. We see you there too. Thank you, Tony. We love you, guys. We love you, whether you're white or not. We still love you. Thank you for your support. Keep it up, everybody. So we're going to a city that we know very well, Baltimore. Again, unfortunately, more lawlessness, more chaos. And just yesterday, in broad daylight, in a once beautiful, historic, vibrant district, the Pennsylvania Avenue corridor, there was a shootout. And guess who the bad guy was? A bad guy attempted to shoot at a cop. Unfortunately, he did hit one of the cops in his foot. But as the cops were chasing this guy who had a gun, the guy shoots the cop in the foot. There's several cops chasing him. And what do you think happened? Of course, the brothers in blue banded together to take him down, as they should have. But what's more astonishing, as the cops are chasing the bad guy, you have a mob of people, a mob that are chasing the cops. Let's go over to clip number 4. You can't make this up, people.
We continue to follow that breaking news out of West Baltimore. An officer is recovering at shock trauma after being shot in the foot in West Baltimore.
Yeah, we're told the suspect is in critical condition. The Attorney General's Office of Maryland is investigating.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels is live at shock trauma with the latest. Keith.
Well, Maxine and Kai, you said it, the officer here now in fair condition, the way the commissioner describes it, and the suspect, an adult male, his identity unknown, he is in critical condition. Now, the commissioner detailed what led up to the shooting, part of which included 3 officers traveling down Pennsylvania Avenue spotted what the police commissioner calls someone believed to be armed. He says when the officers approached the man, there was a foot chase. The man turned, wielding a weapon. There was a foot chase, then a struggle. He turned, presented a weapon, he says, and then shot the officer in the foot, and then the other officers returned fire. Several gunshots fired, according to police, with those bullets striking the suspect. Again, that individual in the hospital upstairs here at shock trauma in critical condition. Police say a weapon was found at the scene. That weapon, they say, belonged to that individual who was engaged in gunfire between those officers. And then the commissioner also said that when that suspect went down on the ground, the usual procedure is for police officers to try to render some aid. But he said during that chase, people in the community were also involved in the chase. They were running behind the police officers as the police officers were chasing the suspect. And he says that when that suspect went down from the gunfire, police officers were kind of held back from rendering aid to the suspect because of all the people that were impeding, in his words, them rendering aid to that suspect. He said other officers did respond regained control of the crowd, and then the officers were able to give some aid to the suspect until the ambulance could arrive and then bring.
Before we respond, I do want to say thank you to our super chatters. Brown Eyes, you're here with us tonight. Thank you.
Hey,
I
Brown
love you,
Eyes.
Brown Eyes, for your $5 super chat. And of course, Kung Fu CJ, we were looking for you, making sure you were okay. Thank you for being here tonight with your $5 super chat. You said you were in a meeting, and Brown Eyes, we say hello back to you. Before we respond, I want to show the clip of the mob that were basically attacking the police. That's clip number 5.
Man, beat all you bitches down with them, and this bitch the fuck out. I'm telling you, I be and this bitch the fuck out. I'm telling you. What's up, bro? I'm trying to tell you, I ain't even playing, brother. I'll be one dead ass nigga. Don't want to spray the mace, boy. You a bitch.
This is chaos. This is chaos, and this is our beautiful city. Nicole, I don't even know have the words. I did see that cat or rat, Gary. I saw it too, getting the hell out of Dodge. Nicole, you know Pennsylvania Avenue, historic district, culture, arts. I mean, UB Blake has been there, Billie Holiday, Red Fox, all of these, names of excellence in arts and culture. Now look at it. What do we say to this? This is crazy.
It's supposed to be tourist trap, right? Like you're saying, the culture is there for people who love music and poetry and the arts. This should be a safe space for you to come and kind of feed your soul on some of this stuff. But instead, what you have, lawlessness. And this lawlessness is allowed to continue because the law says that you can put your hands on a cop and the cop can't do anything to you, right? This is what the law is in most blue places, that the police are inherently bad people who are only there to help you once you've been shot by somebody else, right? Basically, people who bring out the big spatula and scrape you up and slide you into an ambulance somewhere. This has got to stop. This cultural shift that we've seen has happened in a lot of major cities, but for Baltimore, it hurts more. For people who love this beautiful state, who absolutely love Maryland. Maryland is a drop dead gorgeous state. But when you think about Maryland and you don't live here, the first thing you think about is Baltimore and murder, crime and riffraff. And now the size of that rat that ran across the street trying to get away from all the news cameras and bright lights. We have to do it differently. This cop who's coming out with the pepper spray, I would have pepper sprayed them a long time ago, right? But when you have a mayor who's going to say you're 100% wrong in what you've done, who's going to file charges against you for doing your job, and since they've repealed the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, they're liable for things. We're lucky that we have any cops at all in the city.
Yeah. Yana, how does a city, a state go from like the beauty that was here, just the landscape beauty in Maryland, but a state of order and working well for the people? How does it devolve and seemingly so quickly? I mean, 30, 40, 50 years is not a lot of time, particularly you all know from the time you were born till 50, that time went by like that. That's not a lot of time. How does it happen? I mean, and it seems it's spreading, like we started off the show, it's spreading across the country. How does it happen so like this?
I mean, I have to agree with Nicole is that the hands of police are tied. And there's no actual law and order. I mean, I wasn't here 50 years ago, so I don't know how it was. I mean, there are multiple issues. Of course, there's also the issue of, it's a societal issue as well. The way that these young people have grown up, that they had no real order in their lives from the beginning. They have no order in their families. They have no order in their schools. A lot of them are illiterate. We have talked about that. The education system in Maryland, in Baltimore, particularly, is not working, and there's no purpose that people have. There's these young people are growing up literally without purpose, and then on top of that, they're not afraid. They're not afraid of the police. And there needs to be a heavier hand in situations like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You said a good point, Yana. Many of them are probably or may have been born into disorder or chaos and without a purpose. That speaks to, again, their family situation, how they were born. And it's kind of, when you think about it, it's not just their physical being, but I guess I'm going to call it the spiritual being connection to literally be born into disorder sets you up for maybe a life of disorder, particularly if there's not some intervening forces. But that was a good point, Yana. Thanks for that. I do want to recognize our super chatters. We have Midwest Mom of 2. She sends $10. Thank you for your super chat. She says, "Hello, beautiful ladies. Out what FAFO means. Didn't get it as kids. They're getting it now, though." Yep, you're right. And not only that, the bad guy, the one who shot the cop, apparently there's stories coming out that he has now since died. I don't have any tears. Jay Hunter Lee, another super chatter. Thank you. He says, "One of them cops are wearing tight high waters. No wonder why they don't respect them." Okay, Jay, thank you. That was cute. That was cute. We're going to move to our next segment. We're still in Baltimore, but we're going to bring on a guest. We have a guest to talk about another sense of lawlessness in Baltimore City. You're going to be flabbergasted when you hear about this. But we're bringing on Miss Eurypsie Morgan, or should I say Attorney Eurypsie Morgan. She's going to join us tonight. Hi, Eurypsie.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. So Eurypsie is an attorney here in Maryland. She's a legal analyst. She's a community advocate, and she's a former talk show host. We've all met her here, and we love her. Thank you for joining us, Eurypsie.
Thank you for having me.
Eurypsie,
you guys
what's
have
your
such
YouTube
a
channel?
lively discussion.
Thank you for being here. Well, you're going to help make this section a little more livelier if you can. Oh my gosh. So we are talking about the squatters in Baltimore. So I'm going to show you clip number 7 first, and then we're going to get Eurypsie into this discussion.
Well, speaking of the heat, squatting has become a hot topic in Maryland over the past month. In a heated exchange, Spotlight on Maryland's Gary Collins spoke with one woman who has been posting ads on social media that allegedly connect individuals to what the woman calls online squatter homes.
Spotlight on Maryland has been reviewing social media advertisements, videos, and posts allegedly connecting unauthorized occupants or squatters to properties throughout the region for a one-time fee. What's your experience with squatting?
It's an epidemic. It's insane. It's insane.
It's becoming an epidemic.
It is a crisis. After investigating for more than a month, we tied Baltimore area resident Kanaya Washington to one of the social media accounts using information we obtained from alleged squatters that pointed to her. In one instance, her name was even listed on a leasing document an occupant provided to us. When we reached out in May, Washington said any videos she posted did not depict anything illegal. She added that she categorically denied any unlawful entry or inappropriate access to any property. Meanwhile, on Monday, Washington posted on her social media account asking for an interview.
Gary Collins, how come you don't want to do an interview now, but you only wanted to do an interview when I was portrayed to look like a monster? You don't want to interview me? Let's talk about governance in the city.
Hey, Miss Washington, Gary Collins of Fox 45 News. Our team learned Washington was in court in Frederick County for unrelated traffic violations. We tried to speak to her about her social media account. How are you? Quick question: Why are you connecting individuals to squatter houses on your social
following
media?
me to court is crazy.
Miss Washington, you can record us, but I'm very curious why you're following
Get away from me before I clock you. I'm not playing with you.
Before you clock me, Miss Washington?
Get on my face.
So why are you...
Could you get on my face? Get on my face. Get on my face.
Why
Get on
are
my
you
face.
connecting people?
Get on my face.
Why are you connecting people?
What you talking about? I don't play like that. Y'all running down on me and all that. Don't play with me. What you talking about? And you a dummy.
No clear answer what Kiana Washington's role may be in online squatting networks in Maryland. What we do know is officials acknowledge how social media is fueling squatting, including Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott.
This is not a new issue for Baltimore or for the state of Maryland. And what is different, though, is that these folks are doing the advertisement for these things online, which we are looking at if there are ways to hold them responsible legally in that way.
Maryland's squatting issue has also caught the eye of Governor Wes Moore. What's your administration doing to address this, particularly considering other governors are taking immediate action now?
Yeah, well, I think you're seeing how in Maryland we're taking immediate action as well. I mean, we're working with all of our partners to be able to ensure that people can be safe, that people can be secure, and that laws are being followed. And so I don't think that there is not a single person or partner that we're not working with to be able to address the issue.
Meanwhile, homeowners, contractors, developers, and property owners are left picking up the pieces and dealing with the lasting impact of alleged squatting.
Trash, food, all over the house. You can bother putting a trash can.
We are going to continue to follow social media accounts claiming to connect unauthorized occupants to last resort squatter homes for a fee. We will also continue to press government officials for answers, and we'll also examine how squatting in Maryland is potentially harming people just like you. I'm Gary Collins with Spotlight on Maryland.
Wow. Euripsy, thank you for being here again. But please, what is a squatter and how is it that there's a network now that places them in people's homes? How can this be?
So first, I do want to clarify what the term squatter means, because a lot of times we'll hear that there are things like squatters' rights or squatters' laws. Maryland is very clear. When we talk about a squatter, we're talking about somebody who has been on property for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. So it's not these folks that just walk into an apartment or that walk into a house, get the locks changed, and then all of a sudden they're there for a temporary time. Maryland does have, and it's really adverse possession when we talk about squatters. We're talking about, like, say, for example, Shelley, if you and I live next door to each other and I put a fence up and I happen to encroach on some part of your land, you know that I'm doing it. It's open and notorious. It's adverse to you. And I've been doing it for 20 years and you never say anything about it. You never tell me not to. Then by adverse possession or squatter's law, that may become part of my property after 20 years. That is not what's happening here. So these folks here do not have any kind of squatter rights or, the right to be in these properties. What makes this even more egregious, though, is that you're talking about a network, a social media network that is inviting these people. And from what I understand, these networks are telling people, hey, I'll find you a house that's vacant. So it's not like these people are walking in thinking, oh, I have this legitimate contract and I'm going to make this legitimate deal with somebody to rent this property for 6 months or a year or a month-to-month basis. They know that they're coming in for a very short amount of time and that they're basically just breaking and entering. It's very brazen and it's ridiculous.
Wow. Before we jump in here with the questions from our panel, I want to recognize Jessica Zane, her super chat for $10. Thank you, Jessica. She says, I'll still go to Baltimore to see, and I cannot pronounce this baseball player's name. I think it's Shohei, crank some home runs. So thank you, Jessica, for your super chat. Thank you again to all of our moderators and our super chats. I have one more question, Euripsy, before Nicole and Yana jump in here. How does it? We don't have squatters' rights per se in Maryland, but that doesn't mean that innocent people, won't have to spend money in court to fight for their property. How does that work?
Yeah, listen, that is incredibly frustrating because the law is going to presume that everyone is innocent. And keep in mind, so we're not talking about criminal law here. We are talking about civil law, right? Mm-hmm. So the law is set up in a very neutral manner where it doesn't matter that it's 2025 and these websites have popped up, or these Instagram accounts have popped up that are connecting these folks with these illegal, I don't know what to call it, illegal contracts, I guess. The law is designed to say that if you're going to accuse somebody of doing something, you have to be able to prove it, which means that as the homeowner, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, right, you are going to have to come in and prove that this person is on your property illegally and that is legally your property before anything can really be done about it.
Wow. Nicole, you have a question for your Ripsy or?
So there's a guy on YouTube, I think his name is Flash. So what he does is he squats on the squatters, especially in California where the laws are absolutely ridiculous. But what he does is he'll, if a landlord comes to him and says, hey, I've got these squatters, I've tried everything, I can't get them out, he will get a lease from that landlord to be in the place where the squatter is, because the squatter does not have to technically have a lease. So he'll have a lease. He'll go to his new home, right? He's paying rent for that home. He changes the locks, but it's not a lockout. He moves in with them and makes them so ridiculously uncomfortable that they move out. With very little damage. Now, do I think that people should go that far? Absolutely not, because, you know, I worry about this man's safety. But it is an interesting take on how to get them out without them absolutely destroying your home, like pulling all the copper piping and all those kind of things. What could someone here in Maryland do if there were a situation where someone assumed your home? Like if you have a rental house that you never, summer house or something, that you're not at all the time, or if you're a soldier and you're deployed and you come home and there's someone living in your house.
Yeah. You know what? So that reminds me of the old saying that necessity is the mother of invention. Because it is amazing what people will come up with when there is a problem, right? Like leave it to somebody on the internet to be like, oh, well, I'll squat on the squatters and here's how I'll do it. And I'm going to make money doing it. Like it is the most capitalistic American ideal to just be like, let me think of a way to fix this problem and make money at the same time. So I'm with you. I worry about this person's safety as well. And if he's making them so uncomfortable that they're voluntarily leaving, then I definitely worry about his safety or what he has going on. But I just want to remind everybody, so property law is state specific. So like anytime, like an attorney, you have to take a bar exam in every single state unless you waive into certain states or certain states have reciprocity, because things like criminal law and property law are all state specific. And there are some general similarities, but there are some big differences as well. So what goes on in California may be a little bit more difficult or different than what happens here in Maryland. Oftentimes what people will do if they do have a squatter on their property is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to call the cops. But then the cops are going to say, well, how do I know this is your house? You know, like so at that point now you've got to hire an attorney or somebody, unless you know how to pull up a deed, which by the way, you can do. It's available online, and prove that this is your property. And 9 times out of 10, the cops are just going to be like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, take this to court. Like, I'm not going to sit here and make this decision, because they don't want to be liable for anything as well. So it becomes incredibly difficult. I would not be surprised, however, if we didn't have our own version of this guy in California, especially now that, you know, on this popular show, you guys are talking about it, that somebody gets a light bulb and says, oh, I think I can help with that. And then, of course, there are some more extreme, I think, you know, it's a miracle, and thank God that there haven't been more extreme responses to finding somebody locking you out of your own property. But I also don't think that that would be something that would be unheard of, because it is, I think, an incredibly frustrating thing to know that somebody has locked you out of your own property.
Yeah.
Wow. Before you jump in, Yana, I do want to recognize another super chatter. We have Jay Hunter Lee again. Thank you, Jay. Jay Hunter has a question for you, your Ripsy. He says, my question for Ms. Morgan, Attorney Morgan, in your professional opinion, who would you hold accountable for this, and how could this problem be solved quickly?
Oh, the easiest question would be who would you hold accountable for this? Anybody and everybody that you can. So you'll see, like, in a lot of times in lawsuits, everyone under the sun gets sued. Like think about like a car accident, right? If the four of us are all in a car accident and, if I'm the one that gets rear-ended, I'm at the front of the line, guess what? Everybody is getting sued, including everybody's insurance company and everybody who was in the car. You do that because you never want somebody to be able to point a finger and say, oh, it's not my fault. It's his fault or that person's fault, So you don't ever want anybody to be able to escape the lawsuit. So in these cases, I mean, you would sue obviously the person who's in the property. You probably go as far as to try to sue Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whoever has these platforms. Although interestingly enough, that's where you kind of get into these. It's Section 231. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Like President Trump has gotten into this a lot about 251, 231. I forget what it is.
I think
about whether or not you can sue. Yeah. What is it?
I think it's 231. Yeah.
Yeah. About like whether or not you can sue like TikTok and YouTube and all these different platforms. And their whole argument has been, we are nothing more than a platform. Like we let people say what they want, but we're not going to mediate because then we'd have to mediate content. And then maybe they don't like what we're saying on this show. Right. So in those cases, like it'd be a little bit harder to probably drag in Instagram and YouTube and all these other entities. But man, sue everybody. Everybody's getting sued so that no one can point the fingers and get out of it. I think the second part of that question was how to hold somebody accountable though.
Yeah. Yes, that's how do we solve it?
It becomes a lot more difficult. I often get asked this question by people, who say, can I get sued for this? And I'm like, yeah, you can sue anybody for anything, just about. Doesn't mean you're not going to get sued back. And also doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So with a lot of these folks, yes, you could probably sue them, if they come in and they've taken the copper wiring out of your house and they've destroyed things. But think about the people that you're suing. If they don't have anything for you to recover, then, I don't want to say it's a waste of time. It certainly isn't, because you want there to be consequences, and maybe jail is a consequence as well. But as far as monetary value, are they going to be able to pay you back? Are they going to be able to replace the things in your home? I mean, you can go so far as maybe attach a lien onto their own, anything that they own, a car, a house, a boat, a trailer, if that's where they're living. But it would be very hard to recover any funds if you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have anything anyways.
Agreed.
Wow. Yana, did you want to ask any questions or?
No, I don't really have a question because it's kind of depressing. The fact that the law is not on the side of homeowners. It's really, that's scary. And again, I have to say that's a Marxist system where they basically trying to use equity. That's in a really tricky way. They're distributing property to those that otherwise would have not had a place to live.
Right.
So it's Nicole, that's a great idea that you mentioned that person had, and that's a good business idea. I mean, wouldn't you, if you don't want to do it yourself, you can advertise that, let's say you'll pay someone to go and squat on a squatter and make them incredibly uncomfortable. And that's genius. And so when the law is not on the side of people, then people have to find their own way. They have to take the law in their own hands. And
that's what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. And I will say this. So that sounds like a great reality show, doesn't it? Squatting on squatters.
It's a great show. I mean, he has a YouTube channel, so it's really good.
It could be like Real World. Remember back in the day, or Road Rules when they used to do those? Like, let's just set up a camera and see what you guys do for the next 2 weeks. This will be hysterical. But so there's another business idea for you. But one thing about people always say that the law is not on our side, or that the system is broken and things like that. And I get it. The problem is that we sometimes forget that the law is not meant to pick a side. So they're not meant to be on the homeowner side, or not meant to be on the plaintiff side, or the defendant side, or the prosecution side, or the defendant side, right? It's meant to be neutral and say, this is the set of laws. And if you want to accuse somebody of something, you have to prove that they did it, which becomes difficult because there is the law and then there is reality, where in reality, it's like, that's hard to prove. But the whole basis of our legal system is that there is no there's a presumption of innocence, right? That we're not trying to be on the side of one or the other, because there are other instances in which other forms of law have said we're going to walk into this and we're going to, with blinders on, that we're on the government side or we're on the homeowner, like the plaintiff side, and then it skews it one way or the other. This one, because it's more neutral, it makes it more difficult sometimes for the innocent party.
Wait, Yana, hold on, Yana. Before you finish up, Yana, I want to bring in these super chatters, or at least acknowledge them. We have Brown Eyes again with her $5 super chat. She says, here in California, the politicians are driving mom and pop landlords out of business. Yes. We have a super chat from Chadwick. Thank you, Chadwick. Kung Fu CJ. $5 super chat. And again, Kung Fu is one of our freedom members. So thank you, Kung Fu, for your support. He says the private sovereign citizens are a great place to start. Absolutely. And then we have Chadwick here with his $5 super chat. He says, are there booby trapping laws that if a squatter gets injured based on technically breaking into your house, would you be held responsible? So that
that's a great question.
You're going to respond to that first, and then Yana's going to get back in. And I have a follow-up question too. But go ahead, Euripsy, respond to Chadwick.
So are there booby trapping laws about so again, that's state specific. I can tell you that there was a case, I think this one was out of Texas, where somebody did set up a booby trap. They with a shotgun, I think is what it was. It was something to do with like the door opens and the shotgun shoots, and they were trying to keep people, it wasn't squatters specifically, but they were trying to keep trespassers out. The person died, obviously, because they opened the door and then got shot with a shotgun and died. And it's just something that I remember this case from law school, and it was one about whether or not, what would a reasonable person do? It's like, okay, well, a lock might have worked better than a shotgun. And so would the person be held accountable for those? Yeah, unfortunately. Now, the booby traps, I think, it would depend on the severity, like what we're talking about. Again, if you're setting up a shotgun, like, I don't think the court's going to look at that and be like, you know what, that's a reasonable response. But things like locks, like, let's say you have a dog. I have a German Shepherd, but I also have signs all over my house letting you know that there is a German Shepherd. So if you decide to walk on in, then that's on you, and so the court, there's a lot of it that depends on the facts specifically of your situation. We know on the one extreme, shotgun, you're going to get in trouble. A dog, or, but you still let people know that it's there, then probably less likely.
All right, Euripsy, we have a couple more questions for you in our super chats. We have Jade Hunter Lee again. He's asking, can you attempt to tent the house like you're exterminating termites to force them out? Thank you for your $5 super chat. And then similar to Jay is from Shantia for her $7 super chat. She's basically saying, what extra precautions other than alarms or cameras can homeowners put in place when going on vacation? So again, basically those two super chats asking, what else can homeowners do to protect their home and in their property?
Yeah, I think so. What Shanita is saying there, the alarm systems, cameras, all of those are really great, especially if you like our Ring camera goes off every time somebody comes to the door, which is a lot of fun during the summer, and kids are constantly knocking at the door. But that at least allows you in real time to see that somebody is moving into your property and call the cops, call your neighbors. I would say, especially if you're going to be gone for a few days, a week, or anything longer than that, definitely have a neighbor come over, make sure that somebody's checking on the property. They're watering the plants or, whatever, but at least they're keeping an eye on the property. Because keep in mind, from what it sounds like, a lot of these folks that are squatting are moving in, like they're pulling up with trucks, they're, moving vans, and they are like moving in their stuff. So if you have somebody that's looking out for the property, and they see that, they know that you just went on vacation, Nicole, and all of a sudden somebody pulls up with a van and, a whole truckload of stuff, then they can call you and alert you about what's going on. Other than that, I think it becomes, the alarm system, the locks, things like that would make it more difficult. And especially if there's an alarm and it goes off and then the police show up and then they have to explain, oh, what are you doing here?
Right.
And most of these alarms are, they'll call you, right, the homeowner, and then you have to verify who this person is or whether they're supposed to be there or not.
Yeah. Go ahead, Yana.
I love nosy neighbors. It's the best invention, cost you no money. You know, make friends with your nosy neighbors, retirees, old people. That is the best alarm system. They tell you everything. They even write down license plate numbers.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm out of town. So it's a good thing to have nosy neighbors.
Go ahead, Yana. What was your question?
I guess my question is, so Eurypsy, you've mentioned that the law is neutral here, but is it the same state by state? Because I know that like tenant laws are different depending on the state. So some states have more tenant protections and it's more difficult to evict someone in some states. So is it the same situation with squatters? Is it the same across the board or is it different state by state?
So property law in general is different state by state.
So
but what I mean when I say
it's neutral then. If it's
yes, well, no, but what I mean is the overall focus of the system is to remain neutral. Think about it like an umpire, you know, where it's like, I don't care who's playing, you know, I'm going to call balls and strikes. That's the purpose. So that if I suddenly, you know, had beef with Nicole and I decided to be a real jerk and call the police and say, hey, Nicole's squatting at such and such place, go get her. Now, all of us know that I'm lying, right? That's not true. That judge, that jury doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. They don't know Nicole from a hole in the wall. And so she deserves the opportunity to walk into a courtroom and say, I live here. Like, right. Here is my deed. Look at my stuff, right? And the court is not set up to say that, oh, well, only when we know the person is guilty, right? When it's egregious, are we going to make the other side prove it? No, because that's not specific like that. So the court is just set up to say, if somebody is trespassing on your property, you have to prove X, Y, and Z that they've done that, regardless of who it is. Because like I would do that to Nicole, but that's not to say that people haven't been wrongly accused in the past.
Yeah. I understand that concept, Eurypsy. I want to go back again because the onus, even though the law is set up to be neutral, the concept of neutrality, if you will, innocent people like homeowners, why can't it be so simple that we can just go to the court of records, the land records, pull the deeds and titles and say, why can't it just be that simple?
Well, it should be. It should be. And so what happens in these, and you know, just to be clear, I don't do landlord tenant law. It is not my favorite thing. I have done some of it, and it is very time consuming. It can be very frustrating. So it's just not one of the things that I like to do. It's been a few months since my last one. But yes, so typically what will happen in a I guess like a squatter's case, right? If suddenly I'm accusing Nicole of squatting at this property, then she would, you know, I'd have to initiate a lawsuit. So first I would call the cops. Oh, the cops show up. And the first thing they're going to say is sue her because like whose property is this, right? And very few people know how to pull a deed. So very few people are going to have a deed ready and say, hey, no, this is my house. Like, look, this is my name on the deed. Then they're going to say, okay, well, who's who? Like, I have a deed. I don't know who's, like, give me your ID, who's whatever. And then the cops are also going to make a decision about, you know, the number of times that I have seen there are multiple deeds on a property. Now, it's the last deed that controls, but right. I could very well pull a deed from the previous owner at my house, and it would, they could show that, and it doesn't have my name or my husband's name, but the latest deed does, right? And so a cop is not going to go through all that. What the cop is going to say is, go to court and figure this out. Now we have to go to court, right? The court requires that I initiate a lawsuit, that I serve Nicole, because our law says that she has to have notice that I am taking her to court. She has to have the opportunity to defend herself, get an attorney if she chooses to. So now here we are, probably 6 weeks later. Now we're finally in front of a judge. And there may be, you know, we got to gather more evidence. Maybe Nicole is like, no, this is my property. I live here. And maybe I'm the one that's just causing trouble, right? So the process takes a little while. And that's where I know it gets very frustrating and, you know, for homeowners. But the reason is because if you accuse somebody, you have to give them an opportunity to defend themselves.
Right. You know what they've been showing? A lot of these places, a lot of the people who are squatting are much like what Gary was reporting on the news. They're using these third-party people, and they're paying these people. And sometimes these people generate what we call an internet lease. You can just print a lease off the internet. And these people, in some cases, are like, oh, no, No, I have a lease, right? When the homeowner says you have to get out, no, I have a lease. Well, you may not have a lease with the homeowner, but how would you know that? As Eurypsia said, most people don't do enough investigation, especially if you're renting a home, to find out who owns the home, if it's owned by the bank, if Eurypsia owns it, if Shelly owns it. All I know is I moved my stuff in and I got a lease. I've paid my rent and I'm not leaving. This is why the cops go, oh, this is not a case for us. But you know who it is a case for? Our legislators. This needs some legislation. This is why it's so important to vote, because this can be handled very easily. The people who are putting those ads up, that should be a crime. It should absolutely be a crime. They're taking advantage of both ends of the equation here. If I, in good faith, signed a lease with someone I believe to own this home and paid my money to this person, I'm not getting out. Are you serious? I've already put all my stuff here. I've paid my bills. It's unfair to me, Judge, to have to be thrown out because this person is a bad actor. Eurypsia, the homeowner, is going, well, wait a minute. It's my house. I have nothing to do with this. Me and Eurypsia are injured. The person who caused the injury is walking away scot-free. So we need to definitely fix that with some legislation.
Exactly. And that's my pretty much my last question for you, Eurypsia. Are there any specific policies, progressive policies, anyway, particularly in Maryland, let's stay with Maryland, that really are against the homeowner right off the bat?
I can't think of one. Again, I don't know all of them. I can't think of any. I can tell you that California is extremely difficult for evictions and to get rid of squatters. I've a friend whose family was dealing with it for I think like 3 years, trying to get rid of a squatter. It was a very, very long, because the hoops that they had to jump through in the California court system in order to not only prove that it was their property, but there was no valid lease there was absolutely insane. They do a lot of protections about like how long you have to wait, when you have to notify the person, and these wait times. That can make me extremely cumbersome. I can tell you, however, just like Nicole was saying, there are absolutely things that the legislature can do, including making it a crime. We're not talking about civil, but making it an actual jailable offense, to do what people are doing. Because again, like if you're dealing with somebody who maybe they're not a good actor, like in Nicole's example, this is somebody who, they very well knew, like, I don't have the money, but I am going to get on Instagram and I'm going to find a property that I can go hang out in for the next month or so. And they're doing it knowing that they have no right to be there. Well, if your only recourse as the homeowner is to sue somebody who doesn't have any money, like what's the incentive for them not to do that? But if on the other hand, it's a jailable offense and they might be facing a year or two in jail, that's a different story, right? And then of course for these internet sites, I mean, we're talking about a state that wanted to tax, remember the internet providers, Amazon and Google and all of these other things. You think they can't, like they can tax them, but they can't hold them accountable for these kinds of things? That's insane.
Agreed.
Yeah. Wow. Agreed. Wow. Well, Eurypsia, we had a few comments for you. Thank you for being here. Our super chatters certainly loved you. And I learned something from having you here. And Nicole is right. We need to vote. The legislature has a role in this. In my cynical view right now, it seems that the only people who are winning are the attorneys. No offense to you, Eurypsia. We need them, but the homeowner is basically going to be asked out for a period of time. And that's my cynical view. But thank you for joining us, Eurypsia. How can people see you, Eurypsia? How can people find you again? Let us know.
Thank you. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. It's at Straight Talk with Eurypsia Morgan. You can also find me on Instagram, Eurypsia Morgan. I'm the only person with that name, so you should be able to find me.
Easy to find.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Eurypsia. Good to see you again. Take care. Thanks.
See you later, friend.
Wow, folks, what do you say in the super chatters? Hold on, Yana, for 1 second. I want to ask the super chatters, please comment what you think. What would you do if you had a squatter on your property? Just give us some of your creative ways that you will handle it. Right? Type it in the super chat and we will read some of your comments. I do want to recognize Jessica Zane in regards to this segment. She's saying, yes, Nicole, know your neighbors. Let them know what's up. Our neighbors had a bunch of chickens and they were all Oh, they were all of our alarms. The chickens were the alarms. So I guess the rooster got in the hen house and the chickens would start squawking. Well, that's a good way to have it too. But yeah, so let us know, super chatters, what you would do if you had a squatter on your property. Yana, what were you going to say?
I mean, I was just going to say that I like to see the big picture always, not get into these, details, because yes, we can try to deal with each situation of, each squatting situation, one instance at a time. But what it really does in general, when property owners do not have rights, which they actually should have constitutionally, we should have a right to property. When the government is actively putting in policies that takes away rights of homeowners, that deters people from actually wanting to own more property and rent out that property and be a developer, maybe have like a few houses that they want to rent out. That really would deter people from doing that. And what I'm thinking is that the government wants to be the sole owner of properties, because once they are the sole owners, they can control this whole situation, and they can really know who's supposed to be there, who is not, and they can really use this equity idea that they have, Marxist idea of we're gonna take away from the haves and give it to the have-nots. And really, we gotta take law into our own hands in this situation. I lived in the 90s in former Soviet Union when the law was not on our side. We had people that could come and take care of a situation. So that's the only way in these cases. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
Go ahead, Nicole. What were you saying?
I was saying it's difficult because, as much as we would like to think that the people who are doing the squatting are, homeless and they need to be out of the rain, sometimes it's, B-level celebrities who are down on their luck, or, people who just want a better place than the place that they had. This has been plaguing our nation for a while. I mean, it's epidemic proportions now with the housing shortage around, but you should be able to, as a homeowner, go on vacation, or as an active duty soldier, to go out and serve your country without coming home to have people living in your house. Some of these people have utilities turned on in their name in these people's houses, and it should be much, much easier to get them out. It should not take months to get them out of your property. But the only way that's going to happen is through legislation. And I will say it again and scream it from the rooftops. You have to vote. Even in these little tiny local elections, you have to vote, because we need law to protect us from the lawless people, right? Because these people are lawless. They don't have nothing happens to them, but you're stuck with hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage to your home. What if your parent dies, and you have to do something with their house? So there are a lot of moving pieces, and it's interesting to know that blue states, of course, have very, very lenient laws regarding this. But Texas, 30 years you have to be on somebody's property before you can even go to a court and tell them that this property is yours, what they call adverse possession. We can do better.
Some of our chatters have commented what they would do. Jessica says she would, have more cameras and alarms all around, and a dog. I think was it the S-File said they switched internet companies, I'm guessing for security. Thank you, Brown Eyes, for your $5 super chat. And Brown Eyes says that in between getting them rental ready, the homes, you can still I guess the squatters can move in and out before it's rented. And I think that goes to your point, Yana, about, the homeowners having to spend all that money and time, and the laws, right? Or this Marxism. I do think it's an economic ploy, if you will, where it prevents or discourages homeowners from having a second source of income, renting out property. So if you are living in fear that your property is going to be squatted or you won't have the rights to your property, that's going to discourage you you, and of course it's going to keep your income down, right? So all of that into, like Yana was saying, the Marxist playbook, if you will. People have commented about having nosy neighbors. Someone said nosy neighbors are also called window watchers. You might need them for a while. Chadwick says, Shelley, I would use the Second Amendment. S-File says, yep, pew, pew, yes. And, Euripsy mentioned that the state laws vary. I remember that case she mentioned about someone had a shotgun in their door. I can't remember all the details, but I vaguely remember it. But, this is just unsettling. It seems that, again, maybe I'm being cynical, but it seems that all of the decent, honorable, hardworking Americans, we're the ones that continuously have to prove, if you will, our being, whatever that may be, whether it's property, work. We have to prove. Whereas the thugs and the bad guys, they get away with so many of these laws. When you're voting, please stop voting for just someone who looks like you or who looks good. Actually listen and understand what they are proposing and what they're advocating, because it will literally come back to haunt you, help you, or hurt you down to the economic, social, cultural circumstances in your life. Please, please, please be more aware or woke, if you will, when you're voting. Not woke in the wrong way, but woke from a sense of knowledge and understanding.
Absolutely.
Well, before we go, I do want to shout out again to our super chatters. Thank you so much for your support tonight. All of you in the super chat, in the comments. I do want to also direct you again. Nicole, hold up your mug. Nicole has the signature Poppin' Politics mug, and I'm holding the not black, not white. We are all American mug. And you can go to our website, poppinpoliticslive.com, and shop until your heart's content. Don't forget also on this page to like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't liked it while you're in this chat, please do so before you leave. Do it right now. We also have our sister and brother platforms that are on all week. We are over the internet. We're on all week. Some way, someday you can find us. We have Just the Guys podcast, who will be airing on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, Poppin' Politics. We're on Monday, Wednesdays, and most Fridays. The All-American Talk Show. If you didn't see that show yesterday, please go back. They're on Tuesday evenings on the Metro Conservative Media platform. And of course, on Thursdays and Sundays, we have KJ Christian Conservative. Please, please check out our sister and brother shows. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You can find us anywhere, but we need to be everywhere. And we can only do that with your support. Thank you, Brown Eyes. I see your super chat, your $2 super chat in the comments in the section. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our super chatters. Before we sign off tonight, yes, Trays, I am hollering at you all a little bit lower tonight. But before we go tonight, you ladies want to say any parting words? Anything, Nicole?
So yes, as we're getting closer and closer and closer to the passage of the big, beautiful bill, please call your legislators and let them know that you want it done. You know, the Senate has put out their version of what they'd like to see. It's definitely a bit different than the House version, but we're going to need them to reconcile this thing and get it done, hopefully before July 4th. So tell them to get to work, do what needs to be done to save our tax breaks, number one, because it has to be done now, and to get this thing put to bed so we can push forward with the rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Nicole. Yana, any parting words? Again, Yana, thanks for being back for us. They loved you.
Well, I'm happy to be back, and we mentioned a lot of on a lot of our topics today how it is important to be connected, to have support system, to have communities. So I'll just have to keep pushing for that. Talk to people, share this podcast, share our channel, and don't be afraid to keep fighting for our rights. We're literally in the fight mode right now. We just started, so we have to keep on working and building our communities. So don't be afraid and reach out to friends, associates, and share your thoughts.
Wow, thank you. Oh, hands around, everybody. We got to 300 likes on our way out. So we thank you for your super chatters, and we just thank you for your support. I do want to say again, we started the show talking about these 3 cities, particularly Chicago, Baltimore, and New York, 3 beautiful cities that we all love, and they are unfortunately at the head of causing destruction, chaos, disorder all across the land. While you may not live there, as we can see, these things can affect us, particularly financially, Americans all across the country. We need to get this word out from this show and other shows on our platform. We have to stand out. We have to fight back. We have to vote. But we certainly cannot let these jokers take over our country. We can't do it. We will not do it. Stand on your rights, stand on the flag, stand on the Constitution, stand on your Bible, and as I always say, or I say regularly, stand up, show up, speak up, strap up. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here with us, Poppin' Politics. We'll see you later this week. Have a good night.